show your face as often as you can. I think that's like a big thing to help people connect with you. Then
Mhm.
second, actually go out there and engage with people. So engagement, like outbound engagement strategy, that's important. Showing your
Mm.
face and then providing like value. Also, if you're selling something, talk about it.
Put up your mask, let down your guard, and let's talk about the real real. This is the Bring Your Own Mask podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to the BYOM podcast. I'm so excited for today's guest, Nabeelah Munshi. She is the owner of Bloom Studios, and she really helps entrepreneurs grow their business with done-for-you digital marketing strategies and online courses and coaching. Nabeelah, thank you so much for being a guest here. I'm so excited that you're here. It's 2022. I have so many questions for you when it comes to digital marketing.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so let's just get straight in there. Before we even put on our mask, I have a very important question to ask you. And that is,
Yes.
where do you see like digital marketing trends happening in 2022? Where are we headed?
Ooh, okay. So obviously there's like a lot of things that are happening, like the metaverse and like a lot of technology and the AI stuff and everything. But I do reckon more than anything, there's always going to be human touch necessary. So like bringing your human touch or yourself or
Mm,
your authentic self to your marketing, I think that's like a timeless strategy. If you can connect with people through your marketing or your touch points in your marketing as human, like, and show your personality, I think that always beats everything else
okay,
because
so
it helps connect with the audience. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I mean, that's so interesting that you say that because I definitely agree. I feel like as someone that's scrolling on social media, I always gravitate towards people that have that human essence to them and it's not completely, I guess you could say fake. I can kind of sniff that out. I don't know if that's what you're referring to.
You can, yeah. But definitely, I think there's a lot of like technology that we can take advantage of in 2022. Definitely, like all the new features that are coming out on Instagram. There's just so much goes on, like your technology stuff, like SEO and all these things. They're always updating the iOS and everything. But I feel like, especially for big brands, I feel like for smaller brands, for small businesses, I think the biggest strategy would be like to be human centric kind of, or customer centric, and like humanize your brand in a way. And for bigger brands, obviously there's like the AI stuff where they can use like apps, like a lot of like technologies. I don't know, they could go crazy with it, you know?
Yeah, there's just so much to explore. And I think that most of our listeners here are either personal brands or they're small business owners or they're entrepreneurs, right? And so it's really important that
Yeah.
they do have a digital presence. They have social media. So I'm excited to dive deeper in with you. Let's put on our guard, put up our mask, and let's talk about the real real. Okay, so let's dive into my first question, which is, when it comes to small businesses and personal brands, with Instagram, there's TikTok now, there's just so much to explore when it comes to social media. What is your biggest advice for smaller brands when they create content?
Well, first they have to pick what platforms their audiences are at. So basically like pick like one or two where their audience will be at, and then kind of have a focus on them, just like one or two. And then when they find which one it is, and then they can see who in their niche is doing really good and what kind of content they're producing. That's the one way. And then also another way is to really dig deeper into their audience's pain points. So they can really, really figure out what their clients are struggling with and they can create content around that. And again, I would say that not to like give away everything. I always say this, always leave out the how, only say what and why.
Okay. So when it comes to a specific platform though, like for example, like should I be on TikTok more than Instagram because it's a little bit more trending now as a brand?
I don't think you should go with trends. I think you should kind of like go with where your target audience would be. For
Okay.
example, like if your target audience is younger, then of course TikTok. If your target audience is older, of course, like maybe Instagram or Facebook. So it really depends on your ideal clients, I would say, not to jump on any trends.
Oh, interesting. I love that you say that because I want to know from your perspective, right? You mentioned that younger generation is on TikTok and then the older generation is on Instagram or Facebook. I personally don't even use Facebook anymore. What are your thoughts on like how Facebook has changed, and does that change the demographic at all?
Yeah, exactly. There's like a lot of older generation on Facebook still. I don't use Facebook either, to be very honest. So I usually run my business through Instagram, a lot of it. And I personally stick to like Instagram, my email list. That's pretty much all the social media channels that I'm using right now. But I'm going to get on YouTube. So that's another social platform that I'm exploring.
Okay, that sounds cool. You mentioned that you do a lot of done for you services for your clients. So, if I'm,
Yes.
let's say, interested in what you're doing, what does that look like for someone? Because as a personal brand, like I'm afraid of someone making my content for me because obviously they're not me, right? So, how do you help people like that?
Ooh, that's a very, very good question. But basically, I work very, very closely with my clients. So I think a lot of my clients that work with me trust me a lot. And they know that I'm like very precise and I do justice to their brands, to be honest. And when I create content for my clients, I come from like a marketing aspect. Like they can create trendy content, they can copy content, they can like keep saying things. But I come from a very like marketing based approach, and then I will try to sell their services. So I know people are usually attached to their brands and they don't want to like delegate that, which I can understand. But I feel like if you don't have enough time and you're running a full time business and like everything, you kind of have to let go a little bit.
Right, I see. So basically, you focus more on maybe creating written content or even like asking your clients to send you their photos. What about reels? Like, do you?
Yeah, yeah, reel assignments and stuff. So I'll actually say that, "Oh, these are the reels, like, this is the audio, and can you record this?" And then they send it to me, and then I'll edit it and I'll post it.
Oh, okay. So you actually give them what their real assignment is.
Yeah, if they had to come up with it, I feel like that would be so sad that they would be, like, going over all the reels and all the trends, all the audios that are trending and everything. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't had no idea because obviously, like I'm learning more about what you mean by done for you strategies. And I think people that are listening are also just really curious because obviously everyone wants to do well on social media, but they don't have all the time, right? I talk to a lot of
Yeah.
moms that are juggling their business as well as taking care of their kids and all that stuff. So do you guys also take care of like hashtags and like
Everything,
analytics? Okay.
everything. Basically, if you're only looking for Instagram marketing, everything, content strategy, engagement, all these things, but also done for you looks so different for everyone. So basically, when we have our discovery call or they want a proposal, we would get on a call. I really understand what their goals are, who their target audience is, and everything. And then I'll create a proposal and then I'll send it to them.
That's so cool. So, now that we're talking about hashtags, right? Because that's the one thing that I feel like a lot of people feel with Instagram or even Facebook or perhaps TikTok is that the algorithm is against them. I talk to so many of my clients and just people that feel like, oh my gosh, the algorithm is against me. Like, what kind of tips and tricks do you have to share with people when it comes to algorithms and hashtags? What can you share with all of us about your knowledge on that?
Well, for me, I feel like algorithm is not out there to get you. I don't believe that algorithm is out there to get you, but I think as long as you're providing really good content, you're focusing on your content and then focusing on building relationships. So basically building relationships in the DMs is
Mm.
like the biggest technique, You don't need the algorithm for it. Like when you're actually engaging with your clients, building that trust, you're putting out good stories that are creating credibility.
So, what do you mean by engage with your target audience? Like, let's kind of measure that, right? Because you're into digital marketing, so am I. Let's get into the nitty gritty of like the numbers. Like, how often do you chat with people? Let's talk numbers. What does that look like in a given week? Can you share that information with us?
So basically, I definitely don't have like a specific number, but I'm very, very active in my DMs. So my DMs are always like with people because I've already built a good audience, to be honest. So they know me. I always show up. Like, I think one of the things is always showing up. And somehow the random stories that I put, people respond to it, people talk to it. So, like, I'll respond a lot. And then I will definitely check up with like the people who followed me. Then I'll go out and like use some hashtags to find my ideal clients, talk to them. So I don't have a specific number, but like I actually dedicate maybe like half an hour to an hour every day from Monday to Friday to do that.
Yeah, so I think that's what people are looking for, right? Because sometimes people come to me and they're like, Kristen, like, I want to know specifically how to grow my following, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes, I guess for me, as someone that totally gets you, where it's all about being authentic and sharing your story and all that stuff, some people don't learn that way, right? They need to know like the facts or like the logistics. So that's why I think that it's good to share this information too, because that way people have like a step-by-step plan. So if you were to give me advice, right? Let's just say that I was a potential client of yours and I said, like, I really want to try growing my Instagram on my own. What are like the top 3 things you would suggest me to do right away?
Can I go on your Instagram?
Sure. I guess you can pull it up on your phone.
Yes. Okay. Just so I can make it like super, super specific. I think you're doing pretty good, to be honest. What I would say, just in general, if I had to give like general top 3 tips, I would say show up, like show your face often as you can. I think that's like a big thing to help people connect with you. Then
Mhm.
second, actually go out there and engage with people, the niche that you have like currently,
Mhm.
and go to like the influencers in that niche or the accounts that are big in that niche and like see who their followers are, kind of see who's commenting on their posts, engage with them, all these things. So engagement, like outbound engagement strategy, that's important. Showing your
Mhm.
face and then providing like value. So like you're connecting with your audience, you're
Mhm.
showing your face, so you're humanizing your brand, and then you're providing really good value. Also, if you're selling something, talk about it. So, yeah.
Okay, I see. So what I'm hearing from you is like the engagement part is something that I have never actually been really great at. I think a lot of the times I kind of hide behind I don't know if you're into human design, but I'm a projector. Are you familiar with human
I'm
design?
a generator.
Okay, great. I don't know if you're familiar with anything about projectors, but our strategy is that we don't reach out or like we
Wait
should
for
not,
the invite.
yeah, we wait for the invite. And so one of
I've
the
worked with a
things
lot of
that,
projectors.
yeah, one of the things that I like to do is not reach out to people so much because I do tend to be a little bit too forceful unless I know them, right? From like in the past or like we've engaged in the past. So I guess my question is for people that, let's say, don't want to engage as often, what are some ways that someone doesn't have to be so direct? Because sometimes I don't like random people showing up in my DMs, especially like,
Hire someone. Tell your virtual assistant to do it. I feel like she could just go out there, engage with people, leave thoughtful comments on almost like your clients' posts and things like that. I think that could work really well.
Okay, so like thoughtful comments. So not like directly in their DMs or like in their inbox, but like more so like within their comment space, right? Like a public
Yeah,
space.
and then slowly make your way to the DMs.
Interesting. Yeah, because that's something that I have really avoided is when I see a lot of my messages that I don't know from people, I'm like I'm a little bit kind of wary of them because like my guard is already up, knowing that in the past I've been just straight up sold to right away. So, let's kind of pivot a little bit and talk about what you were talking about earlier, which is authenticity and being yourself. What have you noticed in the online space with people that are able to truly be themselves?
Oh my God, there's so much to talk about this. Actually, I will tell you the reason why I've been like focusing more on like the digital marketing aspect was because I got really, really turned off by coaching because I would like always see people being like, oh, I'm a coach, I'm a coach. And then like either they're not providing really good results for people and all these things. And I was like, oh my God, they're not being authentic. They're just kind of creating stuff to kind of blend in. I don't know. There's just so much noise and there's so many people just
Mhm.
wanting to do that. And so I think one of the things I would say that people who really stand apart for me that I choose to like work with, or when I see them, I'm like, okay, you know what? They're really doing good. I think it's sharing their own stories and their own perspective. I think when you really personally get to know them and their perspective, it really changes a lot.
I see. Well, let's get deeper because that's the nitty gritty stuff that I really enjoy. And I definitely agree with you. I tend to always navigate towards people that are really authentic. They're not afraid to be themselves. Hence why I created the BYOM podcast, because it just felt like so many people are hiding behind a mask and not fully even knowing who they are, right? Like they're not comfortable being vulnerable in front of the camera, just being silly and all that stuff. So I'm going to take off my mask. I don't know when you took yours off. I'm like, where's yours? I don't even see yours anymore. Is it just like blend in? You're like putting it
It
more in.
actually blends in.
I love it. Is it those masks that like you don't even have to wash it off? Sleeping masks.
Yeah, no, sleep. Yeah, you know the ones that you put when you go to sleep
Yeah.
and they go into your skin?
I actually have never tried any of those before. Do they work?
I think so, but it's just like I feel kind of weird. I mean, you just have to sleep like straight. You know, you don't want to like
That's true.
because
I don't think I could ever pull that off because I move around a lot. I sleep on my side here. So
me too. I sleep on my I'm like
yeah, so share with me a little bit more about how did you come to be yourself, right? Like I think I read a lot on your Instagram profile and even like all the posts that you created. I love that you share a vulnerable side of you. Like where do you feel like that comes from? Or like how did you get to where you are today with all of those, I guess, low points in your life? How are you able to talk about that with people?
actually, I will tell you. Okay, so I was born in Pakistan, so like I really have to like say that that made me super strong because I had to fight or reframe a lot of things that were told to me in childhood. So I had a lot of like conditioning from that because I lived there since I was 14. And then until I went to America when I was like 18, because 14 to 18 I was in Malaysia. When I went to America, I really had like a lot of existential crisis, a lot of like religion crisis. I was like, oh my God, wait, if they believed that over there just because they were born there and they believe this if they were born here, what is actually a truth? And like, you know, I went through like a whole self-discovery journey. And then I kind of slowly started realizing there were a lot of things that I was told in childhood, especially around being a woman and what your responsibilities are, how you should be like, how you should carry yourself. That really made me. And I actually went through an eating disorder, like a really bad one. That was my first step towards like personal development. But actually, I used to read a lot of books. So I don't know why, but when I was 12 or 13, I was always gravitated towards personal development books. And my mom still has them. And she's always like, how are you reading all these books? And I have no idea why, but they all make sense after. So I'll tell you what was like the turning point. So anyway, so like I was always into it, but that was my first experience with like a coach. So I got a mindset coach and she really helped me through it, you know? She really changed a lot. And I was going through like a really bad breakup and I was just like at a very pretty low point. And then I learned a lot about myself. Then I got into personal development. Then I found out what I really liked doing and everything. And at that point, when I was at the lowest point, I realized that no one talks about it. Like I was suffering on the inside, you know, I was going through something, but like behind closed doors, nobody really knew this and everything. And I would read a lot of stuff, you know, because I wanted to help myself. And I was like, I'm going to change this, whatever circumstance I'm in. And so I would like read on blogs and all these things, listen to podcasts and everything. And I realized there's so many people going through it. And it really helped me. And so then I started my own podcast, which was like Dear You. And I started sharing all the things that I was going through in life and like how I recovered from them. Because I think one of the best qualities about me is that I'm very proactive about things. So if I see there's a problem, maybe I complain like a tiny bit, not too much, but I really take action and I find ways to kind of improve my life. And
Mhm,
that's one of my like favorite things to do. Basically, I love doing things to improve my life. And
mhm.
so I started sharing and then I started getting like a lot of messages. So I would get a lot of messages saying, oh my God, it's like you're saying everything that was in my mind and all that stuff because I've always been very articulate, I think, with my feelings. So people who can't actually articulate their feelings, they would always be like, oh, you give words to the things that I don't know how to explain. So
Mm.
then it all started and yeah, so I've always been to writing and everything and that's why I've just been comfortable because I feel like we're all just humans and we all struggle somewhere or the other or like there are some things that we all go through, you
Yeah.
know?
Do you still have your podcast, Dear You?
Yes, to this day, it's there.
Okay, awesome. Because you didn't share that with me, I was like, oh, maybe that she stopped doing that. But I love that you still do
No,
it.
I'm so sorry. You know, I always keep them so separate because I always think of my business as my business because I don't actually use my podcast for my business. It's basically like about personal development, mental health. I usually always forget. I always forget that I even host it. I'm always like doing so many things.
This podcast, is this like a solo podcast or is this where you are also interviewing people in that manner?
So it's both. Like I have solo episodes, more solo than interviews. But
Mhm.
lately, because of my schedule has been like so packed, I've been trying to get more interviews rather than doing solo because in solo I have to like write and like do a lot more work than in interviews because interviews are more like getting content from the other person. So it's both.
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask you why do you feel like you have to keep those two separate? Like, why do you feel like you have to keep the Dear You podcast separate from your actual business, which is digital marketing services?
I don't know. Actually, now I've been like trying to kind of combine it. There was this thing where I was like, okay, I'm just kind of gonna make this podcast for entrepreneurs because they need a lot of personal development all the time. You know, to run a successful business, you need to be at your best and everything. So I started combining them, but still, they're always two different things in my head because it's just purely for entertainment or for my joy or for my enjoyment.
Mhm.
And my business, I run it like an actual business, you know?
Right, where you're helping other people and their digital marketing and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is so
Mhm.
interesting because, we're talking about this right now, and I honestly feel like you're more lit up over your podcast than earlier. And I'm like trying to figure out like where that disconnect is or like why there was a disconnect. And I'm realizing that maybe that's something that you can probably combine because I personally can tell when someone is more excited about something. And because like I've been following you obviously for a while, I noticed that the reason that I have been gravitated towards your content is because of the stories behind it. Does that make sense?
Because I have a lot of like digital marketing clients now, so I'm like trying to hire more people and then kind of figuring out stuff. So I'm like in the middle of like rearranging a lot of things, organizing a lot of things, but definitely podcasting is always fun and I always love it. I always love talking to people, especially entrepreneurs because they always have such interesting stories to share.
Hmm. Yeah, you mentioned earlier that you kind of suffered from like an eating disorder earlier on in
Yeah.
your younger years, because that has to do with obviously like mental health and how one looks at
Yeah.
themselves. What kind of advice can you give entrepreneurs now that are trying to start a business or they're trying to start up their social media, but they have a lot of self doubt with themselves and how they look, maybe, or like how they act or have their voice, whatever like limiting belief they have?
Okay, so one thing I will say is that nobody's coming to help you. I was at a very low point, which is why I got help because I kind of injured myself. I wasn't able to get out of bed and things like that. And I realized that the whole point for me to have that eating disorder was because how people are perceiving me. I was so worried about how people are perceiving me. And also like in Asian cultures or like in South Asian cultures, like you grow up with like your parents saying like, what are they gonna say? What is your neighbor gonna say? I don't know, you know? And so you really grow up with all this stigma about like what you're doing. It's so crazy. But then I realized at that point that nobody comes to help you in your lowest points. Nobody's going to be there. So why really care about anyone, how they're going to perceive you? You have to take care of yourself and do what's best for you.
Hmm.
And that really changed a lot for me. I was just like, as long as I'm being honest to myself, as long as what I'm saying at the moment is true to me, it's fine. Because of course, as humans, we also evolve, you know, like maybe I said something a year ago that I don't believe in anymore. Maybe it doesn't match with my personality anymore. But as long as I'm being myself, as long as I'm trying my best, doing my thing, I think it's fine.
Yeah, that is so interesting that you say that you feel like nobody's going to help you like at your lowest point. Do you mind expanding on that? Because I'm actually so curious what you mean by that.
So I feel like, especially maybe for somebody who doesn't like to ask for help, I'm sure if you ask for help, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who will be like, yeah, of course, yeah, they want to help. But I don't know, lowest point as in like when you're feeling shitty on the inside, like when you're feeling like really sad or shitty, nobody can take that feeling away from you.
Mm, interesting.
Nobody can step in and
Yeah.
like take it from you. You know, you are the one suffering, you are the one going through it. So you might as well put all your energy and effort into making this heart space or your
Right.
mind like the best ever and do what's best for it.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you say that. Just talking to you right now, I'm learning a lot about myself because when you're describing how you went through this eating disorder, I actually went through one myself when I was younger. So I can totally relate to that. But I think that obviously we're two different people. So the way we handled things probably were also very different. So when you said that, like, oh yeah, like people are not there at your lowest points, I actually have the reverse struggle, which is that I don't have people there at my highest points, or like I don't have a lot of people there that are celebrating with me. I have more people there like at my lowest points. Isn't that interesting? It made me think about what you said of how like asking for help, because I am actually someone that is pretty comfortable asking for help. So that's probably why people would be there for me when I'm at my lowest point, but I don't feel comfortable asking for help at my highest point. Does it make sense? Like I feel like I don't want them to feel badly. Yeah, it's such a weird mental thing, but like I feel like
You
this,
have like a guilt for like them not doing as good or something.
it's not a deal, especially if like I have a success and maybe like they have not reached that yet. Even if I do share it, I feel like their response is not as excited as I am, right? Like, where can I find people that are going to be able to be there at my highest points? Like, that are able to celebrate those highest points with me than just people that are there at my lowest points.
I
Yeah.
think people who are doing way better than you. So
Yeah.
I always consciously make an effort to like reach out to people or hang out with people, or especially since I'm here, to surround myself with people who are just doing amazing. Like
Yeah.
who are just doing like amazing. And
Absolutely.
they're doing even better than I am. And so of course they're gonna celebrate me because I'm not even reaching their potential at the point.
Right.
But I think people who are doing really good celebrate you. So you just have to surround yourself with people who are doing really good. So for example, like if I was doing bad, I wouldn't be able to celebrate anyone because I'm
Yeah.
like so envious or I'm like not doing great. But I know for a fact that people are like happy with themselves. I feel like it's the truth. Like people who are happy with themselves and who are doing good, like they're always fine. No?
Yeah, no,
In my
that's so
head.
true though. It's absolutely true. I mean, that's what I'm saying is I'm so glad that we touched upon this topic. I didn't know we were going to go there, but we obviously went there because that's what I've noticed. And that's so interesting that we have that difference.
No, they want to help. I'm sure they really do want
Right.
to help and they'll always be like, Nabeelah, why don't you tell us? But it's just like for me, I feel like I always feel this way where I'm like, everyone's going through something that I don't know about. And how can I put my burden onto them?
We're just different, right? Like I don't think that way. And so that's why my experience is different than yours. And just like you, like I haven't thought of, oh, maybe I should hang out with people that are like doing better than me. So we're both like
Yeah.
learning from this conversation of like, oh shoot, like we're having these different realizations, right? So, anyways, I'm really glad that we went there because that's something that I did not even think about at all until having this conversation with you. But I guess like one of the things that I want to end with is for people that want to work with you that maybe are kind of like just waiting for that one gap or that one objection to be answered. Like, what can you tell people that are hesitating on getting done for you services?
Ooh, I think the biggest obstacle for done for you services are either it's the money or either they're like really not willing to give up control. So, that's also like they're like, "Oh, but I just want to say money you get a return on investment. So you have to invest to get a higher investment, Like you can't keep going. If you don't put anything into it, it's not going to give you very much back."
Yeah.
Second, the controlling part, I would say that you can try to let go of a little bit of control and you'll see how much more successful you get because you can't keep running all this stuff. Like you want to be like the CEO, like you're not going to be like doing all the day-to-day tasks and all the stuff. When you can make your life easier, you can free up your time, like you create your business to free up your time and for this lifestyle and everything. So you have to learn to be able to delegate and to like good people who can actually get you results, and definitely find like good people because there are a lot of agencies or a lot of places that just take your money and they don't give you anything,
Hmm.
but definitely someone who can give results.
So in your business, you have like your team that's helping you with these done for you services, or are you running this solo?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I have like a team at the moment. I usually do that project based, but I'm getting like my full-time people soon. So I'm excited. I'm excited to like make it super streamlined, super good. So I'm in the process.
The reason why I'm asking is because I'm actually curious, like I'm looking for that service. So it's funny because I'm like knocking two birds with one stone. I'm like asking you all the questions for people that are possibly interested. And then I'm also possibly interested. So this is amazing. So I'm really glad that we were
We're
able to
definitely
chat
gonna talk.
with. Yes. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, for
Of
talking all
course.
things digital marketing, and who would have thought friendships or like people like being there for you. I'm sure that a lot of people can actually relate to this, either your side or my side. So I'm really glad that we were able to discuss this. For those that are listening, make sure you follow Nabeelah on Instagram. Are you most active on Instagram?
Yes, they can find me at Nabeelah.Munshi and Nabeelah.Munshi. That's where I'm the most active. Love using it. Love talking to people on there. DM me.
Yeah, I'm gonna put all your links in the show notes. And then how do you explain
Great.
what you're giving away?
Yes. So if you struggle with creating content for your business and you want to do it yourself, I have a little course that's free. They can get it through the link in my bio on Instagram.
Perfect. And I'll also attach that link to the show notes as well. Well, thank you again for coming on. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so
And
much for having me.
yeah, of
Yes,
course.
it's been amazing. It's so fun.